Hello and welcome to another Blender Cookie tutorial. This is David Ward, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to do a kind of a general game character. So all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do a time-lapse version of the boring stuff, as you might call it. I'm modeling a low polygon character here. And the reason that we want low polygon is because in the game engine it's all being rendered dynamically. So the fewer polygons your model has, the fewer calculations your computer has to do there on the fly. So your game will run smoother the lower polygon your model is. So anyways, so I'm just kind of doing the same technique that I used when I modeled the alien and any other models that I might have done here on the cookie or anywhere else. Just the basic extrude and sculpt with the vertex select tool, and I just added a subsurf modifier to it, and also the mirror modifier. And I'm kind of just creating a stylized little guy here. He's going to be actually, he kind of reminds me of, after I finished with him, he's kind of reminds me of the little guy on the Little Big Planet, except he's not going to be made out of burlap or whatever. Anyway, so this is just kind of tweaking the little settings, getting him to look the way I want. I just saved it as is good. You just want to save often, and I named him Eddie. So this is Eddie, little Eddie. So that's the guy's name. So anyways, we're almost done with the modeling. Going ahead and doing a few tweakings and giving his legs, bending his knee there so he can rig a little bit better here in a few minutes. We're going to show you that. So that's basically a nice low poly character. Now I'm adding seams to it so I can unwrap the UVs and give him a nice texture. I don't go real in depth with the texture settings, but you should already know that from the Alien series that I did. If you haven't seen that, I recommend that you watch it, because I do a lot of my techniques. I don't rush through them like I'm doing now. I go in depth and show exactly what I'm doing. So if you're unfamiliar with what's going on here, you should go watch those. So anyways, I've unwrapped his UV coordinates, and I'm going to do a quick trick here. Since the arms and legs are going to have the exact same mapping on them, I just grab the piece on the UV map that's his arms and legs, and I grab one of them and scale it on the x-axis -1 time, so it's like flipping it, and then I superimpose it perfectly over, or as perfect as you can get, over the other one. So when you add texture map here in Photoshop, it's going to add that texture map to both arms since they're overlapping each other. So here's just the only detail I'm going to do is here on the face. I'm going to add some nice cartoon eyes there, kind of lopsided there, and a little bit of highlights there on his forehead, cheeks, and chin area. And I want to add a seam down the middle, which we might get into a little further detail later on, but for now it's just I'm just adding a shape there with a drop shadow to kind of add a illusion of a indentation there where the seam is. I'm going to copy that layer over to the other side, and there we go. Go ahead and save it and import it in. There we are. See what it looks like. There we go. So I got his texture map on there. See what it kind of looks like in the game settings. And you got to change it to the image sampling for the game settings. Change it to, let's see, am I there yet? I don't think so. Okay. If you want to see the shadows and everything from the light, you go to the shading options there in the properties and change the shading to GLSL. I'm not sure what that stands for. I'm sure someone can tell me, but that's for the game engine. Anyways, just playing with a few settings here, and the lighting don't get quite exactly what I'm looking for. But anyways, that's basically how to get a nice texture on there and set up a single light. You can set up another light, and also the light needs to be sort of a one that throws ray trace shadows, so the buffered shadows lights don't really work too well on the game engine. Okay, so now I'm adding a rig, and it's going to be pretty basic. He's not even going to have a neck bone. I'll go ahead and name this Eddie 1, so if I need to go back and change anything on the original model, I can do that, because it was just Eddie. This one's Eddie 1. Okay, so anyways, like I said, just setting up a basic rig. He's not going to have fingers or toes or anything like that. Just enough to control all his arms and his body, arms, legs, and head. So just naming them as we need to do usually, or always is a good idea to name your bones. Adding some constraints to the legs, and I'm going to add a knee bone so the leg can point in the right direction. There we go. And also I could go a lot more in depth again on the rigging with the little alien tutorial that I made. So once again, if you're not real familiar with what's going on here, go ahead and check that one out and come back and watch this one after you're done. So anyways, this is just a real basic rig just to get him set up, and just copying the constraints and everything. And I turn the arms and legs, the shoulder and thighs, I go ahead and lock their position so I can't accidentally move them on accident. So now if you grab them and you move them, they're just going to rotate. They're not going to move anywhere. And if you notice right here, the bones are kind of twisted. So if you turn on the axis right there in the display mode of your armature settings, you can see which direction they're pointing, and you can control R to rotate them to be lined up properly, so you won't have any twisting when you have the segments on there. Okay, now that we've got our little guy, we got him modeled and rigged, now we will start animating, and we'll go ahead and start working with the game engine. So first thing I want to do is I want to bring everything on here down to the ground plane. So I'm just going to grab everything. Let me turn that into object mode. Just grab this all, drag it down. That red line is going to be our ground plane. I won't actually put a ground plane in just yet. That'll come a little later when we start messing with the dynamics. But for right now, we're just going to do some basic animation, and we'll plug that into the game engine. So, okay, go back to pose mode, and let's jump over into the animation tab, and pop into side view by 3 on your numpad, and hit 5 to make it orthographic, which is, a flat view. And over here on my dope sheet, I'm going to go to Action Editor, and let's spread this out just a little bit more, and go ahead and turn on the automatic keyframe insertion, and we're going to create a new action. I'm going to call it walk. Okay. Now let's zoom in a little bit, and let's go ahead and start making a walk cycle. This would be kind of similar to the walk cycles that I've made, like with the little alien tutorial that I made, but this is going to be a little more stylized. He's going to be kind of a little more floppy, if you will. It's going to be bouncy a lot more. Like his head is really heavy and his neck is kind of made out of noodles or something. And same thing with his arms. That's why I put all the segments on here, as I explained earlier. Okay. So anyways, we're gonna actually, this one needs to rotate forward. The arm swing and the leg swing are usually opposite each other. And since it's, like I said, it's going to be like a noodle, so it's going to be swaying with the counter motion. So as the top of the arm swings forward, the bottom of the arm is going to be a little heavier and looser, so it's going to swing backwards. And then as the top of the arm moves back, the bottom of the arm will move forward. So you'll see what it looks like when I get that far. Okay, and this arm's going to go back and swing this way. Okay. Actually, I guess what I should do is go ahead and apply the armature to the mesh there. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Pop back into the default view, and we've already started the animation, but that's okay because the rig remembers its original location. So all I got to do is grab the mesh and then shift grab the rig and control P, and I'm going to set the parent with automatic weights, and as you can see, it automatically plugs it in there. Okay, so let's go back to the animation and the side view. Excuse me. We've got our first frame set up, and it's going to be a walk cycle, so we don't need it to be too fast. And I was playing with the game engine earlier, as you might have seen in my little YouTube preview thing. I used every 5 frames, so starting on frame 1, it's going to jump up to frame 6 to be every 5 frames, and then 11, 16 there, so on and so forth. So, okay, now we're on frame 6, so we're going to go ahead and start bringing this foot forward, and his hips are going to come up some. This foot's going to come down underneath him, and his body's going to straighten up just a little bit. Maybe his head's still going forward because it's heavy and following the body, but slowly. The arms are swinging ever further. And let me go ahead and put them a little closer down towards the body. So there we go. Let's go back to the frame 1 so I can do the same thing there. Okay. How's this looking so far? Let's zoom in on the timeline a little bit. Okay. It'll look a little better once he's got some more steps in there. Let's go up to frame 11. Side view. Go ahead and start bringing this foot forward, and his hips are going to be higher still. And this one, the arms are going to kind of come to the apex of their swing, and so the bottoms are going to start swinging also. And the head will go ahead and start rotating it back, and the spine. So there we go. Frame 16. This foot's going to go ahead and come out forward. This one's going to come back some. This hip's going to start coming back down a little bit. And the arms are going to start swinging back. And then the lower parts will start swinging the opposite direction. Like so. And the head's going to be back a little bit as well on the spine. Okay, so now let's see what that looks like. Okay, not too bad. And go on up to, let's see, where are we at here? 16. I think I can go ahead and start the looping process. So let's go back to all the way to frame 1. And let's grab all of these. Because we don't need, just grab the ones that actually have keyframes already, because the legs themselves aren't animated. It's their targets that they're pointing at that are animated. So we'll just grab those, and then both of the arm sections are the head, spine, and hips. Okay, you can see that's all of those. And we're going to copy this pose right here. And let's go on up to frame 21 and paste the opposite. Let's go to side view, and let's see what it looks like so far. Should be a full step. That head, we need to play with the head a little bit, but we'll kind of start working on that after we get the full cycle done. So now let's go to frame 6, copy that one, go up to frame 26, paste the opposite. Frame 11, copy, frame 31, paste opposite, and frame 16, same thing, frame 36, paste opposite. And now the loop will be complete, so what we need to do is copy frame 1 again and go up to frame 41 and don't paste opposite, but paste normal, like so. So now we should have a nice walk cycle. And if you set your start and end here, start at 1 is correct. Set the end though to 40. And I know what you're saying is 41 is where it ends. Well, 41 is where it repeats this same frame. So if I set the end frame to be 41, it's basically going to play this frame twice, since this is the exact same. Since frame 1 and frame 41 are the exact same, we want it to stop at 40. It's kind of like a clock. When you get up to 59 minutes, it doesn't go to 60 and then start back at 0. It goes 59, 0, 1, 2, like that. So this is the same kind of thing here. When you get to the almost to the end, your last frame is going to be the same as the first. So you get to the end and it goes back to the first. So anyways, so now we can kind of preview what it's going to look like. As I said, the head's a little messy, and the arms maybe too. But I think the arms may not be that bad. But the head, I would like to fix some. Let's go ahead and rotate it up so it doesn't slam forward so much. And let's go ahead and copy that up to frame 21. Paste the opposite. And then go to frame 41 and paste the current. The reason you need to put the frame 41 in there is because it still has to calculate what's going on in between 36 and 41. Even though we go back to 1 at 40, the computer knows that. Anyways, you understand. So let's see what it looks like now with the less floppy head. There we go. That's not too bad. Okay, I think that's good for the walk cycle. Let's go ahead and save. And we're going to go ahead and jump into the game logic settings. And you can see it puts our little guy here in this window here. And one thing we need to do is go to object mode. And there's a few things we'll need to do, but first off, let's get the walk cycle going in our game. So what we need to do is add what you have here. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit on that. Let's see. Okay, scroll my mouse wheel, I can zoom in. The first piece you have here is our sensors. And it's our basically what object we're wanting to control. And the controllers is basically like a linkage between well, let me go back. This isn't what you want to control. This is what instigates what's being controlled. So, for example, let's add one, and right here we're going to go to keyboard, and I'm going to push up on my arrow keys, and it's going to say, okay, when I push the up arrow, because I said keyboard up arrow, I want it to link it to this, and then add another one here. I want it to perform the action of walk. So I link those all together. So now when I go into the game engine and I hit the up arrow, it's going to link it. It's going to say, when I hit the up arrow, make this walk. But I need to set some settings here in the walk. Remember we were messing with the timeline, and we said that it starts on frame 1 and ends on frame 41. But to loop, we needed to end on frame 40, so you got to set that right here on end at frame 40. Okay. And if you wanted to kind of ease in instead of just boom, start walking as you hit the button, you want them to come from a still pose. Just set the blend in, say, probably let's try 3. You don't want to go too high because once you get him set up, he's going to be moving forward when you hit that button. So you don't want him to take too long to start walking, or kind of look like he's sliding a little bit before he starts walking. So anyways, okay, so we got our thing set up here, our little, let me explain one little thing here. What you see right here says and, so you can link different things to this, and you'll say, like, for example, if you don't want him to walk unless you're hitting the up arrow plus the space bar, you would go ahead and set up another keyboard thing here and link those both to this. So it'd be spacebar and up arrow walk. But for now, we only need the up arrow. So anyways, let's go ahead and collapse these. And go up in your viewport here and hit P. It's going to go into your game view. You hit up arrow. Okay, it's not working. Not very... not very helpful when I'm trying to teach you how to do something and it's not working like it needs to. Let's try a few settings here. Blender game, and let's go to textured view. Maybe we can see what we're doing there. Pop in a P. Yeah. Okay. Start. Up arrow should be working, and it is not. Let's see. There's some settings in here. Okay, I need to turn him to actor. Will that change it? Oh, I know what's going on. The armature is working. When I hit the up arrow, it's walking. However, However, the mesh is not following it, so you can't see what's going on. The way you fix that, let's go back to the default view and click on your mesh and go over to right here in the object settings, and you go to relations, and right now it's saying the parent is the armature, but it's treating it as an object and not an armature. So just go right there where it says parent type and change it to armature. But now what you'll see is it's kind of adding the armature to the mesh twice. It's putting it as the modifier and as the relation. So what we need to do is go back to your modifiers, and let's collapse these guys, and go ahead and just remove it from your modifiers because it's set in your parents, in your relations there. So now if you were to do this, you can still see it working, but it's not a modifier anymore. It's just part of the mesh. So now we go back to the game logic, and now hit P. There we go. You hit up arrow, and there he performs the walk cycle. He only does it once because there's some settings we need to change again. Right here where it says play, what that does, if it just says play, it's just going to play that walk cycle one time. Now you click on it, you see some more options. You see loop end. It's going to loop it until it's done. So like you hit up arrow for like just tap it, he's going to do the whole walk cycle until it's done, no matter how long you hold down the arrow. However, if you use loop stop, he's going to stop doing that walk cycle as soon as you let go. So that's one we want. So now we go to P, hit up arrow. He's walking, keeps walking. So I'm holding the button down still. Now when I let go of it, he stops. Hit it, stop, hit it, stop. So there we go. That's how you get a nice walk cycle in there. Okay, so let's keep going with this. This is the fun part of the game engine, setting things up and seeing how they work. It's so rewarding when they work the way they want to, or the way you want them to. So we got a walk cycle. Let's do a couple more things. One thing that you might have noticed when I let go of the up arrow, he was kind of frozen in that pose. That's not very realistic. Of course, he's not a very realistic character anyways, but let's set up another action. Let's go to go over here, go to pose mode, back to pose mode, and go ahead and clear out this data block. Don't worry, it didn't delete it, it just cleared it out of the little buffer here. And let's create a new one, and we're going to call this one static. This is going to be what he's doing when he's just standing there and you're not hitting any buttons. He's going to kind of stand there and maybe, lean back and forth a little bit or something like that. So let's clear out all our poses. So we go Alt G, clears the locations, and Alt R clears rotations. And that performs two functions for us. It clears it all out, and it goes ahead and puts all of our bones here in the window. And if this was still down, it would have put a keyframe in there. Let's go back to frame 1, and we'll go ahead and hit I to create a keyframe for the location, rotation, and scale of all the bones. So if there's any bones that we miss in any of the animations, for example the knees, if we animate those, we want them to clear out when we go back to our static pose. So we'll put a static pose with the keyframe on every frame. Okay, so this is going to be what he's doing when he's not doing anything, just kind of standing there. So let's kind of put him in a nice relaxed pose. Let's go to side view. Oops. Make sure I'm grabbing the spine. Let me go into the edit mode and let's make these bones a little smaller so there's more distinction between them. Okay, so now a side view. Grab the spine. There we go. And let's kind of... Okay. So I want to make this not quite 40 frames long because it's not going to be doing a lot. Let's make it... We're going to go up to frame 21. That's how far it's going to loop. So let's go to frame 6. It's going to be the same step by every 5 frames that we did with the walk. But it's going to be a lot more subtle. So now we're on frame 6. Now we can kind of animate. He's going to kind of come forward just a little bit. His head's going to maybe lean just a little bit. And let's have his arms swinging some. So let's grab the right shoulder there. Yep. And let's go back in a side view. Left shoulder starts swinging. Actually, this one needs to swing forward, I guess. There we go. And let's kind of rotate his hips some. Okay, let's go up to frame 11. Nothing extreme, just enough to show that he's kind of bored just standing there. That a keyframe up there? I do. I want to get rid of that. That's causing some problems here. There we go. We don't want his arms coming out like that. Okay, frame 16. It's real subtle movement. And lastly, frame 21 will be the loop closer. So let's select everything again, copy that, oops, on the front view there, and grab that and go up to frame 21 and paste it. So now we kind of got just a basic, I don't like his head moving like that. Let's change that some. Yeah, there we go. So let's see what it's going to look like looped. So let's put this to 20 and just see what that looks like. That looks a little bad, doesn't it? It's obviously repeated. I like the body, but the head looks a little too much. So let's get rid of a couple of these frames in the head so it's a little. Let's go ahead and get rid of that one too. Perhaps it's the spine that's the chest. Yeah, okay. Let's move this one over to the center. A lot of times to get it looking, the animations to looking the way you want them to, it takes quite a while. Okay, this is not perfect, but I guess it'll work for our static pose. Actually, it is moving a little too fast. So let's bump it up. Let's grab all of these keyframes right there. Just hit A on your keyboard. And we're just going to hit S to scale them up. Let's scale them all the way up to 40. There we go. So now, let's put this on, I guess it'll be 39. And let's see what it looks like. That's better. Not quite as antsy as he was looking a second ago. Okay, go ahead and save. And go back to the game logic. Grab him and go back to object mode. And we're going to add another one. And this time, we're going to leave it as it is because it says always. And that's what we want. We want to always do this. And let's go ahead and collapse it and move it above. Actually, it's a good thing to keep things named, just like the bones. So this one is a keyboard up arrow, so let's just name it up arrow. Okay. And we'll go ahead and name this one, I guess. Just call it static. Static, I guess will be fine. Okay, so this is what's going to happen all the time when he's static, and then it'll change to walk when we hit the up arrow. So, I'm going to add a new one here, and go ahead and collapse it. You have to collapse it before you can rearrange them. So I want to go ahead and link those together, and let's add another one down here. And this is also going to be an action, and it's going to be static. And we need to link these together here. And we changed it to 40, so change the end to 39, so it loops seamlessly. And the play to, I guess it'll be loop stop will be fine, I guess. Blend in, go ahead and set that to 3 or 4. It doesn't really matter because when you let go of the the up arrow, it's just going to pop back into it, so the blend in doesn't really make a huge difference on the static pose. And while we're at it, go ahead and rename this to walk. Actually, walk cycle will work. And this one will be static pose. Okay. And to keep things organized, I'll go ahead and make this on top as well. Okay, so now when we save, go to hit P to play your game. See him there? He's just sitting there, not doing anything. So we hit up, and he goes into his walk cycle. And you let go, he goes back to doing nothing. Walk, nothing. All right. So now let's give him a run cycle. Let's go back to animation, side view. And the run cycle, I kind of want it just to be a modification of the walk cycle. You know, one thing, I would like to, when he's walking, it looked a little slow, didn't it? So let's speed his walk cycle up some. So I'm in the keyframes of the walk cycle, and they're all selected. I want to do the same thing I did with the static pose. I want to scale them, but I want to scale them down and not scale them up. So just hit S and just drag your mouse down. Let's put it down to, let's try 30. Let's see, well, 31. Let's take 10 frames off of it and see how that looks. So now we'll go back to the game logic and grab the walk cycle pose, change the end to 30 instead of 40, and let's give it a test now. That's a little better. Yeah, a little faster walk. Okay, escape out and go back to animation, and I want to copy this pose because I'm going to use it to create his run cycle. So I'm just going to hit where it says 4 here. I'm just going to hit that. It's going to create a copy of it, and we'll name it run. Let's make his viewport window a little bigger. Okay, so basically I want him to be like an exaggerated version of this run of the walk cycle. So he's going to be in the air most of the time. He's going to touch down and take a step and then spring back into the air. So on this frame here, let's go back into pose mode, grab his hips and I guess his feet controllers, bring him up into the air, swing those legs way out. Same thing with the arms. Oops. And his spine, let's swing it back. His head will be kind of bobbing back and forth a little more wildly. Okay. He's going to come down from his stride here. His arms are still going to be kind of wild. Okay. In this frame, it's kind of shock absorbing on his foot there. And his head's kind of bobbing down because it's that it weighs a lot heavier since he came down on it. Okay, now he's going to spring back up into the air. Sorry if you hear lawnmowers outside. I guess the apartment complex guys are mowing the yard today. Okay. Boom. I guess his arms need to swing the opposite there. Okay, and this will be the last pose we need to redo because we'll be able to loop them after this. Okay. So There we go. Okay. Now frame 20 is the... Since we sped this up, let's zoom in here so we can make sure we get things proper. So let's copy that pose. There they are. And go up to frame... I guess it'll be frame 16 now. Yeah. Yeah. Paste the opposite. Oops, I guess I gotta select everything to make that work. Paste the opposite. Oh no, the lawnmowers are getting close. I might have to pause this and wait for them to go away. And almost done. And then this guy, copy and paste. Okay, so now let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that's not too bad, huh? Set the end to 30. Yeah, that looks okay. Nice little run there. Okay, so go ahead and pause that, and let's go ahead and clear that out, and go ahead and turn off the automatic keyframe insertion, and let's just clear out all of his poses. Alt-G, Alt-R. I didn't scale anything, so I don't need to hit Alt-S. Excuse me, but if you did scale something, Alt-S would have cleared that out. Okay, so we just got our basic pose here. Back to the game engine. And remember earlier when I said something about hitting 2 buttons at the same time, that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to add another button push, keyboard, and let's put down left shift. Actually, I guess I gotta hit that right there. Left shift. Okay. Call this one left shift. Okay. I'm gonna add a new one there. And like I said earlier, up arrow and left shift. So he's gonna walk with up arrow, and then when you hold down shift with left arrow, he's gonna go into that run cycle. Okay, so let's add that run cycle right there. It's gonna be an action, and run. And let's name it run cycle. Okay. And link those guys up. And the end is going to be 30. Loop stop. And let's blend in 3 frames. Okay. Save. And go ahead and put him into object mode. And let's hit P on the keyboard. Standing there. Well, they're right outside my window. But we're almost done. Let me pause it. That's just getting loud. Sorry about that. Okay. Where was I? I just set up the run cycle with the left shift. Okay, so we're just standing there in the static pose. Hit up arrow, and he starts walking. And then I hold down left shift, and he starts running. Look at that. Okay, so now he's not going anywhere. So we need to change that. And what we're going to do now, it's going to help when we start working with the dynamics also. So let's go to solid view. Okay. And let's go, I guess we don't need to. That's going to go back into default view, but it's not necessary. I just want to add another cube, Shift A, add a cube. Okay. Now edit mode, grab the very bottom, actually let's go to vertex select and let's grab all these guys and move them down to where they're all the way below him and all the way above him. This is going to kind of be like a force field type of thing. And you know what, let's go ahead and go back to default view. One thing we can do to where we can see through this box and however still have it be there is kind of like we did on the rig. Just go into the object settings, which were already there, and on the display type, instead of texture, set it to be wire, and now we can see through it. Okay, So let's name it. Hit N on your keyboard, bring up the properties. Let's name it Eddie Box. Okay. And now let's go back to the game logic. We gotta do one more thing with the rig, and that is to add another sensor, and it's going to be always again. Add another armature. Actually, I guess I can get rid of this. We can recycle this first one, but we need to add another controller and another actuator, and this is going to be a parent. So grab the static, link it down to the controller, and then over to the parent. And the parent is going to be the new box we made, Eddie underscore box. Okay. So now let's go to the box and let's add a quick little controller to it. We're going to add a keyboard sensor. So when we hit the up arrow, controller, add a simple motion. That's what we need. And you'll see three numbers layouts here: location, rotation, and scale. And these go by the X, Y, and Z axis. So, and that's kind of judging from straight on view, you know, from the top and forward. The y-axis is the forward and back, the x is left and right, and the up and down is the z. So we want them to move forward when we hit the up arrow. So starting from the point 0, which is right here in the middle, we want him to come this way, so he's going to come negative on the y-axis. He's going to come towards us. So this being x, y, z, we need to set the middle number here, which is the location of the y-axis, to a negative. Let's try negative 0.25. And let's hook these controllers up. Now when I go into, let's get a different angle here. And I guess go ahead and go to texture view. Now when I go into the game, you'll see the box because we need to, actually, let me do that real quick. Turn it to invisible right here in your, you should have your physics button still up. Set it to invisible. So now when we go into game, you can't see the box. It's still there, but it's invisible. So now when we hit forward, the box should move forward. You can't see it, but since we've parented the armature to the box, our little guy should walk forward also. There you go. And as you can see, it was way too fast. So let's change that down to, let's try negative 0.1 and see how well that works. Still a little fast. So let's try negative 0.05. And for my taste, that's still a little too fast. So let's try negative 0.03. And that'll probably work. I'm not even going to test it. So we added our actions to our armature, and we're going to add all our direction controls to our box. So let's start setting that up. Let's go ahead and minimize all these. Add another sensor, and it's going to be keyboard again. Except this time, I'm going to hit the left arrow on my numpad or my keypad, my arrow keys, and add another controller and another actuator. It's going to be motion again, and this time we're going to rotate on the z-axis, which is the very last one. And I never can remember exactly on the negative positive numbers here. I'm going to go negative 0.1. So hopefully he will rotate to the left when I hit left arrow. So let's go P, left arrow, and he rotates to the right. Had a 50% chance and I got it wrong. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the right arrow. Okay, add another controller and another actuator, and this is going to be the negative 0.1. So hook these guys up. Okay, P, move forward, turn left, turn right, and just walk around. Now the lawnmower guys got their weed eaters out. Oh well, they're not that loud, so I'll just keep going. Okay, so we got our controllers pretty well set up. One thing that I would like to do is add a backwards, so when you hit the down arrow, he's going to move backwards. So we'll do that. And keyboard is going to be down arrow. Add another controller and another actuator. Simple motion yet again, and this is going to be a positive number in the location because he's going up on the y-axis. So let's put that 0.03. Hook them all together. Okay, P, backwards, forwards, backwards. He's not making any motion when he's going backwards, so we'll need to go back to the armature. Grab it. Today must be lawn day. Okay, add another actuator here. And I'm going to recycle a couple of things here. I want him to do the walk cycle yet again when I hit back arrow. So I'm going to do it the same thing I did with the up arrow. So it's linked to this one. I'm just going to cross over to right there. And so now, when I go into game view, hit back. Okay, he's not walking. Let's see. Okay, what I did here, I linked it there, and it says and. So for him to do the walk cycle, I'm gonna have to push down arrow and up arrow. But I don't want that. I want to hit either one. So I'll click on and, change it to or. So now, P. Okay, I did the wrong one then. Oh yeah. I need to change this keyboard to down arrow. Okay. So now P, up arrow walks, down arrow walks. So he's walking no matter which way. Do a moonwalk. Okay. But if you remember, we set up that run cycle, so we need to go ahead and hook that up to our box. Okay. So let's create another sensor, another controller, and another actuator. So this one, I need to name all these guys, don't I? So let's up arrow. Saves time in the end. Trust me. Left arrow. My microphone cord in the way. There we go. Left arrow. Okay. And right arrow. Down arrow. And again, this is going to be left shift. So let's go ahead and set that keyboard. Left shift. Okay. And another controller. I'm not going to name these. They're not. I guess I already added one, didn't I? I'm going to delete that. Okay, so let's name these guys, I guess. This is going to be the run motion. This is going to be the turn, or actually the backward motion. And the turn right, turn left, and finally forward motion. Okay, let's collapse all these guys. And the run motion, I need it to be a modification of the forward motion, and it was negative 0.03, so we're going to say he runs twice as fast as he walks, so let's make that negative 0.06. Set that up and connect these guys together. And I want to do the same thing I did on the run cycle on the rig. You got to hit up arrow and left shift at the same time. So let's drag a noodle down from there. So now when you hit up arrow, he's going to walk and move forward, and when you hold down shift and up arrow, he's going to run forward. So let's give that a look-see. Okay, walking, hold down left shift, and he runs. And you can run around in circles. Okay, so that kind of concludes this section. In the next section, we'll get into some dynamics. We'll throw in a jump animation, as well as an actual movement and a ground plane, and maybe a few cubes here and there for him to jump on top of or move around or something like that. So hopefully this is a nice intro for you. As I said, I'm not real well versed on the game engine, but I'll show you what I do know, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.